City rail fans. You've tuned in to the Iron City Roundhouse Report, the podcast where we delve into the fascinating world of locomotives, rolling stock, and the rich history and current state of railroading. I'll be one of your hosts. My name's Brad Williamson, and our other host is my good friend Patrick Moore. And whether you're a seasoned model railroader, a history buff, or just someone who loves the sound of a passing train, you're in the right place. We're proudly affiliated with the Iron City N-Scale Facebook group, but don't let the name fool you. We cover all scales from Z to G and everything in between. We'll be exploring the vibrant railroading scene of western and central Pennsylvania, from the mighty steel giants of the past to the intricate layouts of today. Expect in-depth discussions, interviews with experts, and plenty of stories from the rails. So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and enjoy the Roundhouse Report, a podcast of Iron City, by Iron City, and for Iron City. Welcome back, Iron City N-Scalers and other scalers. We're here today, ready to start episode 4 of the Iron City Roundhouse Report. Hard to believe that we made it this far, but thanks to your support and the viewership, and well, not viewership, but listening and downloading that we're getting, it motivates Pat and I to keep going with this. And we've said it before, but we do appreciate everybody who takes time out of their day to listen, gives us feedback on the Facebook page, and gives us new ideas. You know, this is all new to Pat and I, so we appreciate all the suggestions we've been getting for different types of content and other stuff. So, Pat, what are your thoughts?
Brad, how are you? Oh, it's good to be back in the studio again for episode 4. I'm ready to go.
Absolutely.
And we have a great show today. We're calling this the Young Guns. It's a kind of a hybrid between the Yardmasters and a selected group of guys that we got that are under 40. Some of them haven't had any sleep, I think, in the last year because of newborns and getting ready for weddings and buying new houses. So we're getting
that can be a life changer for sure.
Absolutely. So we got these guys in tonight to kind of give us some different opinions of the hobby. And I'm looking forward to hearing from them, Brad. It's always good to hear from the younger generation. And sometimes, you know, I'm surprised that tech-wise, I'm still hanging with them.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. 2 old dinosaurs like us. But, you know, in addition to having the Yardmasters, we're also trying out a little bit of a new format for this show. Before, we were doing a special guest at the beginning and then bringing the Yardmasters in. And along with what we were talking about with the suggestions, one of the suggestions was that maybe it felt a little too rushed to try to get both of those segments, the special guest and the Yardmasters, in one podcast. So we decided to give it a try to split those up and have a single podcast like this one's going to be with just the Yardmasters. There won't be any special guests on this one. And then we'll have a special guest whenever we figure out who we want our next special guest to be as a separate podcast. And maybe then it won't feel quite as rushed. And then that opens up the possibility in the future. We're not saying we're going there yet, but if we're doing 2 separate podcasts, we can possibly go every week instead of every other week. All these things are possibilities. I'm not saying for sure that's what's going to happen, but your ideas are opening up new avenues and new possibilities for the podcast. So please keep them coming.
Yeah, Brad, on our page, we have 4 or 5 polls out right now, and we had some great responses. I know it's a small sampling, but we did have some great responses about what people wanted to hear on the podcast and how long they wanted it to be and what days they wanted. So we took all that in consideration. We put it in the big giant computer here at the Iron City headquarters, and it popped out that, hey, we should be probably around an hour, and with either a guest or the Yardmasters or a special event. And everybody likes Thursdays. So we're going to keep all that format the way it is and maybe just cut this down just a little bit. And so that way you could, you know, if you're commuting to work, most everybody between getting there and coming back, you can hear our show. So, and we do appreciate everyone listening. We're going strong. We're getting our first season together here. And Brad, we have hit the 300 mark. So we're getting there slowly, right? What Rome wasn't built in a day.
No,
Uh,
that's right.
so
And
so we appreciate it.
we're 3 podcasts in. That's very early in this process. And as I mentioned, we're just learning how to do this, and we've had to try to sort out some sound issues that we've been having. I think we've made some strides in that area, but we're working on continuous quality improvement, and your feedback that you provide for us is extremely helpful in doing that, because at the end of the day, that's what motivates us to keep doing this, to, record these and to do the editing and, put a final product together. It's the motivation that it is something that people want to listen to, and it's for our Iron City family mainly, but of course anybody who is interested in model railroading is more than welcome to join in. And if you want to join the Facebook page, if you're seeing this on YouTube or something, we do have a Facebook page called Iron City N Scale. That's the name of it, but we are scale friendly. So don't feel that if you have a layout that's in another scale besides N, you are more than welcome to join. So all of that stuff, the feedback, the enthusiasm that people are showing, the downloads, it just motivates us to keep going and to keep making this better each time we put one of these out. So thank you again for that.
Okay, Brad, are we ready to jump in the Roundhouse Report?
I believe we are ready, Pat. Would you like me to go first?
Yeah, of course, my friend. Go ahead.
All right. We're each going to do one this week. That's also a little bit different. But the one that I really wanted to talk about was one by Joe, and I hope I'm saying your name right, Joe. If I'm not, feel free to correct me on this. Joe Grazulis. I'm not exactly sure how he pronounces his name, but he posted a rail fanning video, well, several rail fanning videos of he was rail fanning on Norfolk Southern at Hawks Nest, West Virginia. There's an overlook there, apparently. I have never been there.
Oh,
but
I've been there
man, what
several times. It's great, man. It's beautiful.
Absolutely spectacular views. And it reminds me a lot of an overlook. I can't remember the name of it, but it's on the Pittsburgh line, the Norfolk Southern Pittsburgh line, I got to think now, in the Huntington area, where you can get that same look. You're up on a high bluff looking down, and the thing that always amazes me, and this came through in Joe's videos, is the sound of those locomotives. I mean, they look like Z-scale locomotives from as high up as he was, but it sounds like you are right beside the tracks with the sound echoing up out of the canyons. And I just thought it was a spectacular view. And thanks to Joe for sharing that with us on the page, which is another thing that we want to be sure people know. It is model railroading, but we also welcome rail fanning videos and rail fanning pictures as well of the 1-to-1 scale trains. So thank you, Joe, for sharing that spectacular footage with us.
Brad, there's a video back in the 70s. That Hawk Nest is down in the central part of West Virginia, and that's the new river that's going by there that he's looking at.
Gotcha.
There's a couple of bridges down there, and there's an old video of a steam chassis coming through, and the guy basically can make the song like he sings a song with the horn as he's going through. It's unbelievable. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
So that's an area you're pretty familiar with then.
Yeah, I know that area pretty well, and that's a beautiful drive. That'd be Route 60 to get through there.
Okay, well then, we have to add that to our bucket list of things we're going to have to do. Take a road trip down there sometime. I've never been to the New River Gorge or to any of those cool rail fanning places in West Virginia. So, like the Cass, we've talked about going to the Cass Scenic.
Absolutely.
Also, so put that on the bucket list.
Put it on the bucket list. Okay, Brad, mine is going to be talking about the cover contest winner, Kevin Squire. Congratulations. He did the June cover photo contest, and that we had our first sponsorship. So the Whistle Stop Models is now sponsoring our monthly cover photo contest and giving us a prize. And Kevin's going to be the first winner. So congratulations, Kevin. And we'd like to thank John Chase. He's the owner of Whistle Stop, but he is also an Iron City member and has been. So we like to have our members come through for us, and he did. And so that picture is actually on Todd Treaster's layout on his bridge river seeing. And Kevin's got his, I think he calls him the mouse or something. I think it's the German or Japanese railroad.
So is it a mouse or is it a crocodile? I can't
crocodile.
remember.
It might be a crocodile. Yeah. But it's beautiful shot. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, we got a winner. As soon as he posted it, I was that's going to be a winner.
Yeah, that was taken during the rally at Burnham, too, I'm pretty sure, is when Kevin took that shot. And that's a pretty well-known bridge down near Duncannon, Pennsylvania, north of Harrisburg. And it's basically where the PRR main line crosses over the Juniata River. I'm pretty sure that's the Juniata River going under that bridge. And the story behind that, if you notice, there's steel beam bracing on that because that bridge was built before the size of the equipment got bigger and the weight got more. So the Pennsy, instead of replacing the stone arch bridge, just braced it, added additional strength with the steel beams. But yeah, that's a pretty well-known rail fanning spot. And it's in several books that I have on the PRR, the pictures of that bridge. And that's awesome. It was an awesome photography job by Kevin. So congratulations to Kevin on winning that first prize and on having the cover photo, but also congratulations to Todd for just capturing the look of that bridge just about perfectly. So, outstanding all the way around.
Okay, Brad, let's bring these young guns in and with the Yardmasters with the questions, and I'm sure Brad will help us navigate through that pretty well with his follow-up answers too. And so we will be right back with the young guns and the Yardmasters right after that. Hey everyone, welcome back. This is our segment called the Yardmasters, and tonight we have guys we're calling the Young Guns, and Brad's going to introduce everybody, and we'll get started with our questions. So Brad, go take it away.
Yeah, we're looking forward to this tonight. As you mentioned, we have the guys we're calling the Young Guns, some of our younger members from the Iron City group, and the guys we have here tonight are, first of all, we have Doug Rakowski, who has been on the Yardmaster segment before. Many know Doug because he works at Esther's Hobby Shop in Millvale, and one of the best hobby shops, especially if you're a customer looking for end scale stuff. They've just got an amazing selection there, and Doug is he's always a big help if you're looking for something. They oftentimes will have it. So Doug's with us. As I said, he's a veteran of the Yardmaster segment. And then also making a return engagement, we have Blake George, who is one of the young guys who's been with us now to several of our T-Track setups. And then we have two guys who have never joined us on the podcast, but both are from the Pittsburgh area and both have participated in our T-Track setup before, and also we enjoy seeing their stuff posted on the page. We have Connor Deerdorf and Ryan Wilson. So welcome, the Yardmasters. It's great to have you younger folks here with us, and we're looking forward to a lively discussion. So Pat, back to you.
Okay, so we were trying to get topics tonight that the young guns might be interested in, and I think they're really good. And one of the things we had talked about in the last couple of weeks on the Iron City was, dead rail and the technology there. And we had some really good questions and answers with that. And so I wanted to follow up tonight with the young guns, and we'll go with Doug first this evening. Doug, what tech is available right now that you'd like to see maybe that would enhance the hobby?
I mean, the biggest one that is, how 3D printing has come along and how 3D printing has definitely enhanced the hobby, especially with end scale, with resin printers becoming more and more affordable and hobby grade, I'll say. You can go ahead and print whatever you want. So with getting really good details with the end scale size, with those resin printers was a big leap forward. And then I think the dead rail is definitely a thing that's going to happen moving forward. especially if you look at things like the miniature Wonderland with the rechargeable cars and things like that, where it automatically pulls into a charging port and charges. I could definitely see that making its way to 2-hour model railroading and being able to coordinate all that very automatically, we'll say.
Okay. Connor, what do you think about tech and right now in the in-scale world? What do you think would help to enhance the hobby right now in tech?
Yeah, so I always hear a lot about 3D printing, and I don't disagree. I do think that's going to be a great advancement for the hobby. Where I want to go is more on the pure technology side. We've had things like DCC-EX come out and be massively successful. We've used it at pretty much all of the setups with the Iron City group that I've attended. So something like that, where you can take an Arduino, a header board for it, and just a bit of software, configure it a bit, and then you have a up and running DCC system is fantastic. And what I really want to see is something similar like for the LCC standard. Right now it runs off of like the specialized CAN bus, where that takes some specialized hardware to be able to interface down into like an Arduino or over a microcontroller. I'd really like to see is an advancement on that standard, sort of an iteration, I guess.
Yeah.
Where, say, like we have available to us just some microcontrollers that can communicate in a mesh network wirelessly.
Right.
That is an awesome opportunity for the LCC standard to just go from, say, specialized equipment only available from a few manufacturers to something you or I could tinker with.
Right.
Including like T-Track modules or just in general. I think that would be awesome to see.
Yeah, I think, Connor, to jump back on your point just a little bit, the technology we're using right now with, I know Brad's NCE and our between us and the DCCEX, what we're seeing is the availability of with that app is to allow people that may never have used the hobby whatsoever. They're able to just jump on and be model railroaders within like 2 minutes. So I think that's, bringing a lot of people into the hobby. And I think that's something that I'd like to see, like you said, get more enhanced and more feedback from. Okay, Blake,
Yeah.
what do you think?
So we kind of see this a little bit already with soundtracks and their Blue Nami system, but I think that we're going to see an advancement in using Bluetooth connectivity to connect directly to a locomotive's decoder versus having to go through the DCC system itself. That's where I'd like to see the hobby kind of move forward, like other manufacturers like ESU or TCS, to go and figure out how to use their own Bluetooth system but still interface with this app that Soundtracks already uses. Because I think that the beauty of DCC is that it's kind of open source, and anyone that knows how to code a decoder can figure out how to make it work with the DCC system. So if we did the same thing with Bluetooth, I think that would be a great advancement in the hobby. And for a lot of people, I think it would jump that hurdle of programming, because I know a lot of people that are a little scared about getting into DCC just because they don't want to take that step, because there is such a large learning curve when it comes to programming locomotives and programming CVs. So having that interface on like an iPad where you can just say, okay, I want my diesel to play a Nathan K5LA or some other horn.
Right.
You can just go in and do a drop down like that. So I think we'll see different. I think that would be a good advancement, is getting more widely available Bluetooth connectivity
With the freedom to control your own panels and sound or whatever you wanted to do with that Bluetooth technology. Yeah, I think that'd be really good. Yeah. Okay, Ryan, how about you? What do you think about technology, and where would you want to see it enhanced in the hobby?
So honestly, I'm not really that big of a tech guy. I was always, DC plug and go, so I've been used to that. But I just like I just like seeing hardware and technology that works well. And I was on DC before, and I was wary about making the dive to DCC, but I did get the DCC EX system. I was a little nervous about putting it together because I didn't know really what I was doing, but it's easy. It's easy and it works really well. I like the fact that you can, hook up multiple cell phones to it through the Wi-Fi and have, 2 or 3 throttles at the same time or more. But going off what Blake said, I think the Bluetooth thing in the future for like programming locomotives would be really cool. I myself have not programmed any of my locomotives yet, besides just, road numbers and stuff. But I plan on getting into that in the future. But yeah, that I just like seeing stuff that works and works really well. So I think it's gonna get better in the future for sure.
Okay. And Brad, to wrap up this question, what do you think about technology, and what would you like to see?
I would like to see the as somebody, I think Connor was mentioning, the LCC start to take off a little bit more than it has. The NRA, I think, did a fabulous job. The standards and conformances guys, led by Iron City member Andy Zimmerman, came out with a solid standard. It's basically like an open source thing, and it just doesn't seem to have really taken off yet. They first started presenting this, I believe it was way back in 2016. So I'm looking forward to seeing what guys who really jump into that with both feet are going to come up with, as far as new things that can be done. The thing you hear right now is that the DCC bus is getting overloaded. And I, in all honesty, have not seen any evidence of that on my system yet. So, if that were to happen, if there's a whole bunch of new stuff coming out that I want attached to my system, I have a hedge against that because I can go LCC. But right now I've got signals running. I've got multiple engines running. I've got lighting effects on some of my buildings all going through the cab bus, and have seen no evidence of it being overloaded. So I'm hoping that, some of these people who are in the hobby and so creative and are really good at bringing forth new ideas with stuff like LCC, to come up with some, new and innovative ideas that might make that standard, more palpable to people with home layouts. I can see the benefit on a huge club layout because, it's more possible that you're going to overload your cab bus. But with the number of trains that I've run here trying to overload that cab bus and haven't been able to do it yet, for a home layout, I think it would have to be a huge layout, like maybe Todd Treaster's layout with the number of locomotives he has on here. Maybe he would run into that. But I'm just hoping to see more stuff, built to that standard, the layout command control standard. It's designed to be a separate bus that runs parallel to your cab bus, or other companies call it different things beside a cab bus. But regardless, there's a lot of opportunity there. I just hope that we start to see people tap into that.
Okay. All right. Hey, good answers, everybody. And I hope we could pass that on to our Iron City Facebook page with more conversation with that. I know I got things heated the other day with talking about dead rail, and I'm wanting the phone charger aspect, or an iWatch, pull the locomotive over part of your track and charge at the smallest scale. So hopefully we'll see that one day. Okay, this one's going to go out to Connor first, and I thought this one was good because I know Connor has had a pretty not tough life, but pretty hectic life in the last year. Congratulations, Connor, on getting married. So I'm going to ask this question to you first. Burnout. How do you avoid distractions and disinterest in the hobby when you guys are at a young age?
All right. Yeah. I mean, for a little more context, I just got married back at the beginning of April. And then my now wife and I, we just purchased our home last November. So it has been an eventful 6 months. When you're talking about like disinterest, burnout, and whatnot, really, I think what that comes down to for me, at least in my own experiences, is that I'm doing too much the same thing for a long time. So same routine every day, where every time I sit down and try and do some modeling, it's just the same thing over and over again. Now, I'm not super experienced as a modeler, so my experience here is a little anecdotal based on other areas of my life. But what I found that helps me out a lot is just getting up and doing something else, doing something different. So say I've been sitting, working on the same thing at work for a while, banging my head against a problem. I'll take some time, maybe like the last hour of a day, and work on something else entirely. And I think that can apply a lot to other burnout situations too. Say you've been building a lot of trees for your home layout because for some reason you decided that you wanted to make 10,000 trees all in a single 2-week span.
All right.
Take some time, do something different, decal a locomotive, work on the structure, paint something, just do something different and then come back to it. And in my experience, I found that has my head much more in the game for the long, arduous task.
Connor, I was going to say also, or just as you're building your layout, just throw a module in there. Just start from scratch. It always helps.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, doing something new, I think, is definitely great advice for anyone that's running into this issue.
Okay, Blake, what do you think about burnout? How to avoid it? What's some things that get you distracted or disinterested in the hobby, and how do you come back from that?
So, gonna go along the same lines as Connor. Do something else. Always keep what you're doing a little bit different than what you did the day before. I know for me, I often do DCC installations for some people, and it can often get very, very tiring when all you're doing is sitting at your workbench and I'm just soldering things day after day after day. So for me, definitely jumping out of doing all of that and heading down to the layout, doing some scenery, or even just sometimes you just got to sit down and run a train. I get this feeling that I've always got to be working on the layout. And I think that can be a bad mindset to get into. You need to sometimes just sit down and put a train on your layout and just watch it run. As long as your layout's in a good enough state to do that. Because for me, some of the most tedious things can be ballasting too. And I get real frustrated real easily with ballasting. So I can only do a small section at a time, and then I have to take a break. And I just walk away, do something else. And I've seen a lot of people on Facebook in their Facebook groups, do one thing or, spend an hour a day on the layout or on a project, whatever. Right. And I think that's a really good mindset to have, is even if it's just one thing, maybe you spend 5 minutes putting a grab iron on a locomotive or something like that. I think that as long as you feel like you've accomplished something and you're not pushing yourself to do something, if you're not, in that mindset of wanting to do it,
right,
then that's okay. Because this is a hobby. It's not like you need to, like your job. You're not getting paid to do this. Well, some people may be, but if you're not getting paid to do this, it's definitely just do something, but don't feel guilty if you haven't done anything.
Right. It's okay to be away from the layout for a few days, and then try to come back. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, Ryan, how do you feel about burnout and how to avoid it?
I'm kind of in the same boat as everybody else here. I have a lot of other hobbies as well, so once I take a break from the layout, I'm always doing something else. But if you ever feel like you get stuck on something, I don't know how you want it to look or where to go with it, just move on to something different. Go to the other end of the layout, start working on that, and then come back at a later time. Because a lot of times there's sections on my layout that I'm like, okay, this looks good, but it's not really what I want, and I didn't decide what to do. I always move on to something else and then come back to it later, because it always ends up changing and usually working out for the better. But yeah, it's just kind of like Blake said, just, don't feel like you have to do it. It is a hobby and you want to have fun with your hobby. So
right.
You just want to go down and run a train, just run a train. Sometimes I go down and sit down and watch my trains run around for 20 minutes, half an hour, and don't even do anything with the layout. So
right.
it's it's just all about having fun and and doing what you want to do and putting together what you want to see.
Okay. So, Doug, tell me what do you do to help with burnout and distractions?
Yeah, so I mean, I hit the burnout wall pretty hard. For me, working at Esther's, on Saturdays and trying to help out at the shop while Senior was still around and he needed help at the shop, so I would work there every Saturday. The hobby became more of a chore for me and more of a job. Like, the guys already said that it isn't a job. For me, it kind of was a job. And it was very much daunting at times because, I would go down to the hobby shop. All I would do is fix other people's problems, and people would bring something in and say, hey, I bought this on eBay. I need it fixed. And I'd be like, well, we should have bought it here because it's cheaper and it works. And that took a lot of enjoyment out of the hobby for me.
Right.
And like I said, I did hit that wall and just kind of was burnt out with it. And I didn't want to come home and work on my trains, and then didn't want to work at the store that much because, just didn't really care about it too much anymore. But then I listened to, Bob Jr. a good bit, and we have talked about stuff. And he said, I just had to, remember the motto of the hobby shop, and that was to relax with hobby.
All right.
So I started, going to the shop more and relaxing and just going downstairs and running trains in the basement and bringing my own stuff and running it and things like that. And then, especially around Christmas time, when all the kids come in and all the kids' faces light up whenever they see the layout and stuff like that, that helps out a lot too. And then the winter before my son was born, going through and, just getting back into the hobby of like, enjoying it. I never got rid of anything that I had. I kept everything I had. I just found myself to be able to get back into it, and remember that it is a hobby. It is for enjoyment. It's not for, money making purposes or anything like that. It is literally to, just enjoy and make, and, by working at the shop, having other people enjoy that hobby as well. It just kind of took me a while to remember that, I'm not just, doing it to helping out at the shop to help out at the shop. I was helping out the shop to make other people happy as well.
Okay. Brad, you got to close us out on this one. You and I are a little older in the hobby. What do you do to avoid distractions and burnout?
There's just a couple things I did because I did the last time I tried to build a layout that was anywhere close to the size of the one I'm building right now. I did get burned out and just got bogged down in building bench work. And somebody else, I think it was Blake, mentioned ballasting and wiring. So when I set out to build the North Pen, one of the plans was to be able to do it in sections, first of all, and also to look for materials and equipment that would enable me to get trains running fast on each section. And then just as you remember, you were here when I had those, I would just have balloon loops on either end. When I stopped building a section, I put a balloon loop at an end of it, and then I could run trains, because that's the surefire way for me to avoid burnout. You build a section, and then just the satisfaction from seeing your trains run through it, keeps you going. So in order to expedite the process of building, there's basically two products that I've been able to find that have helped me go much faster than what I was able to go on that other large layout that I tried to build many, many years ago. One of them is the Miani benchwork, which I've talked about before. If you want rock solid, perfectly level, non-warping, it doesn't warp, it doesn't expand, it doesn't contract, and the stuff practically puts itself together. I highly recommend it. It's obviously going to cost you a little bit more than, if you build your own benchwork from scratch, but that has just saved me so much time. So that's one thing. And the other thing that's been a huge help is I finally decided to take the plunge and use Kato Unitrack, and the ability to get that together and running quickly, and you don't have to ballast as much with it. I still do ballast it, but you don't have to ballast between all the rails and all the ties and everything. That also just goes much faster. And the greatest thing to me about Unitrack is you can put it down and you don't even have to glue it down or fasten it really. And you can run trains over it. So you can quickly see this area is going to be a problem. I'm going to have to maybe redo the geometry in here a little bit. And it's, you haven't glued or tacked anything down, so you can tear it up and redo it quite easily with that stuff. So those two things and building the layout in sections, I think, are the two biggest things that I have done myself to keep the juices flowing, so to speak. But the other thing that's been a huge help is being able to see other people's stuff on the internet. A lot of times, everybody I think has those days where I don't know if I want to go down and start working on the layout today. Then you get on to Iron City N Scale and see some of the awesome stuff that everybody else is doing, and it just inspires you to get back to work. So all those things have combined to help me. I started this layout back in 2018, so I've been going strong on 7 years and haven't felt that burnout on it yet. So all those things I think have helped.
Yeah, I think the common denominator here, everybody was talking about running trains. I think that's the key. You got to get those trains moving. There's sections of my layout that I've built, and they're pretty good right now, but I can't get a locomotive across them because I had a switch go out, and I could have got burned out on that very easily and said, "Oh, I don't want to do this anymore," or "This is not running." I just kept going on, and I come back to that, fix that one problem on a day that I had a lot of time to work on it, and B, focus. Hey, this is my list today. This is what I'm going to work on. Like you guys all said, it's a hobby. We want to try to enjoy our hobbies, and so I think that kind of helps. Okay, we're going to let's go up to number 3 here, and we're going to start off with Blake on this one. Okay, as you guys are known as the young guns, where would you personally like to take the group in the next 5 years, i.e. the train shows or more social media or more of a stakeholder? Where do you see yourself in 5 years with the Iron City, Blake?
I think that's a great question, Pat. And I feel like I'm in an interview too, like, that where do you see yourself in 5 years at this job? But I see
that's because that's what you're
doing.
Well, that's great. So what I see from Iron City in a couple of years definitely is not just now. We see a lot of people out west too starting their own T-track groups and kind of inspired from us. So in Iron City, quote unquote Iron City West, even though I think we kind of have one of those already, but just like another group that maybe someone's traveling out west and happens to be a train show, and group of the guys that are on the Facebook page are setting up some modules and just happen to say, "Hey, I'm in the area. Can I come set up?" And maybe you can go set up with them. Some other things I think that we could do that would make things better, or not better, but would enhance what we're doing, is trying to find maybe a place where we could get like a permanent space, maybe not to have our modules set up all the time, but maybe somewhere you can take your stuff and you can run trains or you can work on stuff. And there's always maybe someone there that could say, "Hey, I'm having some trouble figuring out what I want to do here." And, everyone in the group's always such a good resource. If you come on and ask a question, somebody's probably going to be able to answer your question. So getting that kind of in-person feel, not just like on the Facebook group, but maybe getting some face-to-face interaction, and a place where maybe on a weekend we say, "Hey, we're going to set up some modules and we're just going to run trains," and it can be open to the public and people can come walk in and see what we're up to, and maybe get some more people jumping into the hobby, or just some more people who are N-scalers jumping into T-track. So that's kind of where I see maybe some ideas of what we could try and do in the next couple of years.
Okay, Blake, when I go back to you on this question, I'd like a follow up here. What about social media? Where do you think our social media is going? Is there social media that maybe we haven't really touched in on yet? I know Brad and I are just now opening it up to YouTube, and we're going to try to move some of our videos and stuff to YouTube because of the 30-day notice now that you get with the Facebook. So what do you think about social media, and where do you think we might be able to tap into that we're not going to yet?
I think starting a podcast is a great way to start with kind of expanding your social media presence. I also think that YouTube would be a good way to do that as well. I think maybe where we might run into some struggles with that is like our live shows that we do. Like I think Ryan was live just to, at the time of recording, it was just this morning, and he was just doing some switching. And I think that doing kind of an impromptu live like that would be a little bit harder on YouTube, but maybe by the time in 5 years, there could be a new social media platform out that could maybe do some things that YouTube can't do. I think though, like where Iron City's at right now, I think it's in a pretty good place on the Facebook page. And maybe as we grow, there could be room for even just having its own website. I know there's the kind of section on the wiki, the T-Track wiki right now, but even just a full Iron City website where kind of highlight some things that people have done, or again, advertising where we're going to be at. Those kind of things I think might help from a social media standpoint.
All right, you got the job, Blake. You're going to be.
I was just going to say, so Blake, do you have any experience building a website?
Why don't you get out your checkbooks and we'll find out.
So, okay, Ryan. Hey, it's 5 years, man. We need you. What's your plans for the Iron City and what's your abilities for the next 5 years? What do you see us?
I want to see the group grow. It's been crazy from when I first found the group, when I first joined, to where it is now. I think what is it? So is it over 2,000 members now on Facebook?
Yeah, we just hit the 2,000 member mark, so we're excited about that.
Yeah, that's crazy, and it didn't take very long, and it really started blowing up there during the show seasons. But eventually, I think as the group grows, I would like to see hosting our own like train show, have our track set up, and then invite a couple other setups, and have a place where we can just host our own show. I think that'd be really something really big and exciting for the group to pull off, and I definitely think we can do it. It might not be next year or year after that, but maybe in a couple years, and as we get bigger and bigger, it's just gonna get better.
Okay, I like that idea, man. Iron City train show. I kind of like that, Brad. Right, mark that one down.
Yeah, that is a cool idea. That would be. We kind of, in a small scale, the Iron City East guys, who are all of the Iron City East guys are also Clinton Central members. So the Clinton Central, technically it's the Clinton Central show, but we do have that, which I know is out of the way for a lot of you guys, but just know that you are always welcome to join us for those. There's one every spring and one every fall. So I know that's not exactly what Ryan was talking about. He's talking, I think, about having a show that's completely under the control and purview. Yeah, which I think would be awesome. Yeah,
that would be good. Okay, Doug, what about you, bud? Where are you going to see us in 5 years, and how are you going to help us?
So, I mean, one of the big things is, and you can't discount it at all, is the work that you guys have already done with the page and everything that you've done already with the group. Starting it from nothing and getting it, as we just found out, or as we just did 2 weeks ago or last week, past that 2,000 members. That's all. That was all you guys who started this from the very beginning, and then kind of us not inheriting it, but taking it and moving it on to the next level. And especially the big thing with us is, we're all under 40. No offense to you guys, but going through and getting more members who are our age and more members who are younger than us, because that's the only way the group is going to grow and keep growing, is to go ahead and get younger members like Ryder and people like that who are 13, 14, 15, getting them involved. That's going to be the best way for us to move that group forward. Like what Blake said about having, our own permanent space to kind of just have it like a flex space to do whatever we want with it. If we want to set stuff up, if we want to use it for a work area, that's a great thing that we could do. I mean, us saying that, next time we all get together with Mike DeCenzi, he's going to start handing out applications to OVL. So, that's something that we could definitely we would definitely move the group towards. That would be really, be really interesting to see and really cool to do, especially because right now we only get together on shows and then
Right.
breakfast the occasional Saturday morning. But to
Right.
go through and, have something where we can get together, maybe once a month or twice a month and actually be there in person,
Yeah.
would be something that's very great.
Yeah, that's it's a broad brush because we're so spread out. I mean, we're all over the country now. Actually, we have people
all over the world.
all over the world. But it would be good to have like some kind of center mass. I know what you guys are talking about. And the other thing too is, the young guns here. The good thing about our membership right now is, okay, you can go off and buy a new house, or you can go off and have a new child, and maybe step back for maybe a season, right, and then be able to come back because there's enough people now here that can hold down the fort and let you guys live your life and still come back to the hobby and still be there's no pressure on you have to be at every event. There's no pressure like that here, and I think that kind of helps us a little bit, that people can come in and out as their calendar allows them to. So those are some good thoughts. Connor, what do you think? What's your idea of the future for the Iron City?
Yeah, so let me try and tie together a lot of those ideas. So, Pat, you had just mentioned like having a critical mass of people here in like the Pittsburgh area. For that, I envision as two different ideas. So, number one, we have a group of dedicated guys that will go out, we'll set up just for the fun of it, like the locomotion weekend shows at the Carnegie Science Center every January. We've done those past few years. We've been able to go out there, show off our work, and be good stewards to the hobby and get new, younger people interested in it. Just going out, saying to the public, hey, we are here, we like trains, come join us if you like trains too, and you'll have lots of fun. So we have that opportunity to go to different events and just do some public outreach. I know at the Pittsburgh Home and Garden Show this year, I saw the Train Collectors Association Pittsburgh division. They had their setup there. I believe the Lego Users Group Steel City division, the Pittsburgh one, they were set up there too. So we have plenty of opportunities to get out there and do public outreach and get people involved and interested in the hobby. And I think that's something we should jump on. And the other thing I want to bring up, my other idea, was a rally in Burnham back in April that I unfortunately could not go to. And I'm still disappointed that I missed it. Not that disappointed because I was on my honeymoon in Cancun, but what can I say?
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah,
you
you're
don't
not.
is your wife gonna listen? Is your wife gonna listen to this?
Almost definitely.
Yeah, you don't want to use the word disappointed in conjunction with your honeymoon.
Yeah,
I don't know a lot about what makes women happy, but I know that will make one unhappy.
Yeah, we'll see if this makes it to the final cut. But
Yeah.
anyways,
It will. Oh, it will.
Oh no. Okay. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Oh boy. Anyways, the rally in Burnham. That was a fantastic event. Just getting people together at Todd Treaster's house, coming to see his collection, and operating trains on the T-track layout. That, I think, is a winning formula. Being able to just set up in a space, maybe even just someone's garage, not necessarily Todd's garage again. We could host it in like Kevin's garage or my garage, or we could even rent out some space for a weekend and just set up and just operate trains realistically, as was done at the rally in Burnham. And that also, I think, has the possibility to expand into something like running our own specific shows, such as like with the Clinton Central group, or I know every year I believe it is the club in New Eagle, PA, they put on a show early in the year at a fire hall there. I think that if we do these operation sessions, we can do it just for fun, just for the heck of it. Just get together with operations focused modules, put them together and run trains. And then eventually that could potentially build into our own shows. And that's also a good way to do some public outreach too. So I think the future for Iron City is bright, and it's one we're going to have to seize, because if we don't take it, then not much is going to happen without us.
Right. And I agree. The rallies, I think, are one of these things where It's not as big as a show, yet it's not as small as just a small group of people getting together for one night. That's someone's layout. That was a focused event. We targeted certain modules so we could actually do operations on it, which is something to say on its own on T-Track. Normally, when you're at T-Track show, you're at a show and you got your T-Track up, you're trying to be ambassadors. But it's nice when you're just you and you don't have to worry about being an ambassador. You can actually get into some operations. So that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and finish this out, and I'll start with Ryan on this one. What has been the most difficult part of the hobby, and what has been the best pleasant surprise? So Ryan, I'll start with you on that one.
So I think the most difficult part is just kind of getting out of my own way. So like just not trying to overthink things and make it as complicated as I think it is, because it's not. A lot of the times simpler is better. So trying to, keep your mind away from overcomplicating things can be difficult. And then, when you go and make it a little simpler and then step back and take a look at what you did, like you'll definitely be surprised. And then the other thing that was a little difficult for me was jumping into custom painting locomotives. I was kind of scared to do it at first, but once you jump into it, it's not as hard as you think it is. But it's tedious work. You got to focus on it for a long time. It depends how long it takes, but once you put your energy into it and take your time with it, you'll be surprised at the results you can get. I always go down and I run my my custom Wellsboro and Corning engines, and I just look at them every day and I'm just like, can't believe I did that. So it's just not overcomplicating things, because it's not as hard as you think it is.
And so that is something that you've been trying to hold back, like not to be handcuffed by in the hobby, which is good, because I know sometimes you get paralyzed by what am I doing here? So that's good. Okay, let's go to Doug on this one. Doug, what's difficult and what's been a pleasant surprise?
Personally, what's difficult for me the most is, just dealing with the day-to-day of, okay, how should I do this? How should I do this to make this, look like I want it to? We all have our visions in our mind of what we want our model railroads to be and what they want them to look like. And, just right now, as we're recording this, I'm going through and, cutting stuff out while I'm taking a break from talking. And I'm wondering, is this the right way to do this? And, like they just said, I'm like, don't overcomplicate it. Guess what? I'm overcomplicating this. And all I'm doing right now is foam work. So it's easy to change out, but it's definitely overcomplicating things. It is definitely, kind of hindersome. And then because, trying to, go back into our first question about, what kind of advancements do we want to see? My plan for my layout that I'm doing right now is to automate as much as possible. So you can press the button and it does a whole little show all in itself. And that includes all the different special effects and things that I want to add to it. And trying to plan out that kind of stuff ahead of time is, what's difficult for me to do. Just to, try to take a step back and be like, okay, start with the basics and work your way up from there. Then, just like you said, what's the delightful surprise is, just the amount of resources that we now have for model railroading is just extraordinary. Like when you can go online and you can just type in anything into Google and something pops up and it's exactly what you're looking for. Someone has already done it, and you can go through and kind of feed off of what they've already done is fantastic. And just the openness of the community to share that kind of knowledge and just be like, no, people want to see people sometimes don't want to be outdone. They want theirs to be the best. And it's very, kind of different, I guess, from model railroading, where it's been very encouraging to just be like, oh, anybody, this is how I did all this. This is how I did all this.
Right. The sharing of that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. The sharing of the knowledge.
Yeah. Okay, Connor, what's been difficult for you and what's been a pleasant surprise?
Well, difficult thing, I would say be doing scenery. So I've only really done one project with model railroad scenery. That would have been the incline module I built for the Altoona Show contest last year. I will be the first to admit that the scenery on that module is not perfect. I could definitely do better. I kind of got myself into a little bit of a time crunch with it, so I was rushing it, but I think I could definitely do better on that. I just need to take the time to learn how and actually apply some lessons learned. That being said, a lot of that module, I would say, is not perfect. Hands up, I know that the reception of it was my surprise. I knew going into it that it was going to be pretty cool and unique, but the feedback I got from everyone basically was amazing. Very supportive. Even though the scenery is basic, I used the cheapest craft paints from Walmart on the buildings and such. I had no clue what I was doing for most of it. Just the outpouring of, positive comments and such was just absolutely amazing to get that weekend. So even though it's not perfect, it's been great, and can definitely apply a lot of lessons learned there on my next project.
Okay. Blake, what's a difficult part of the hobby for you, and what's been a pleasant surprise?
A difficult thing for me, I think, is patience, especially when it comes to doing scenery. You glue stuff down and you're like, okay, now I got to wait and I can't touch it for or at least overnight. And oftentimes I'm kind of looking at it and I'm like, oh, that ballast, it could go a little bit further. And then you touch it and you're like, oh, I just glued that down and I messed it all up even worse now. So then I have to go back and fix it. So being patient and especially when it comes to other projects, like locomotive projects, if you're painting something and you want to make sure that your paint's all fully cured before you're starting a new layer of paint or whatever, it's patience is a big thing in this hobby, and it's something that I often struggle to remember. One thing that has been a pleasant surprise, though, is just how naturally some of the skills that I've learned through this have flowed into other things that I do in my life, not just with soldering and understanding electronics through DCC and, wiring, but, working on building bench work, even just building the modules and putting things together. It's definitely helped with some other aspects of, maybe some home repair or, even just working on a car or something like that. Everything kind of, somehow, either if it's a skill from model railroading or it's a skill you learned outside of model railroading, they kind of somehow always seem to interconnect. It's pretty cool, but that's probably the most surprising thing. Pleasant surprise.
Excellent. So I'm going to finish this one off for Brad and say his most difficult part of the hobby is dealing with all my great ideas. And the most pleasant surprise has been our friendship for over the last few years here. But I have dragged Brad into so many different projects now.
I have enjoyed every one of them.
Hey guys, thanks so much for being on with us tonight, and thanks for your answers. And we will have the young guns back again, and probably a good mix of some other folks too. And if you guys would like to talk to any of our young guns, they're on the Iron City Facebook group, and you guys can direct message them or leave them a message on our page. Hey, welcome back, everybody. We had a great show tonight. The young guns, wow, those guys can answer some questions, and we were glad to have those guys on, Brad.
Yeah, they did a great job, and they are the future, possibly, of Iron City. When you and I decide it's time to take a dirt nap, hopefully somebody will be around to carry that on. I'm not quite ready to do that yet, but yeah, thanks very much to those guys for coming on. And if our listeners enjoyed hearing them, and if it sparked anything that makes you want to follow up with any of them, we'll just quickly go over their names: Doug Rakowski, Ryan Wilson, Connor Deerdorf and Blake George. Those were the 4 young guns. You can contact them via DM on our Facebook page, direct or not. You can just through DM on Facebook using their name, or even better yet, if you would like to tag one of them in a post on the Iron City website, we may be able to generate a good discussion with them and maybe even have other people chime in. So any follow-up you want to have with those guys, please feel free. They're more than willing to engage in that type of conversation. So thanks again to the young guns, and I hope everybody enjoys hearing that. And then back to you, Pat, for some further information.
Yep. So, hey, if you're trying to listen to our podcast, here are the different organizations or platforms that you can get on. First of all, you can listen to it through our Iron City Facebook page. I put the link on every time we publish, so the link is also on there. But you can go to Apple, YouTube, Podbeam, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Player FM, and Listen Notes. So we're on all those platforms or apps. Wherever you get your information and your podcast, that's where we're at. So you could definitely grab us any of those locations. So, Brad, I'll let you close up here after a great show, and I'll let you finish this out with your final thoughts.
Yeah, just enjoyed that format. We had a little bit more time and didn't feel as compressed and rushed with just focusing on those Yardmasters. So, I guess basically the only thing left to say is thank you for listening, and Pat and I will sign off now, and we'll catch you in episode 5 whenever that ends up getting released. So thanks a lot, and everybody have a good one. Keep those trains running. All right, rail fans, that's all the steam we've got for this edition of the Iron City Roundhouse Report. Until next time, keep those gauges green, your couplers connected, and may your layouts always run smoothly. Happy railroading.